things I struggled with being a hockey mom was the fact that I was never an athlete myself. I was never a strong skater, swimmer, runner, didn't play ball, just was not an athlete. So I used to get really worked up going to tryouts, and I would get really worked up during big games because I was somebody who was never picked for teams. I was often the last pick on the schoolyard, and so I used to bring a lot of that anxiety into a lot of Brock's tryouts or games, and it caused stress to everybody. I used to ask him stupid questions before games like, are you nervous? Are you glad you're the one playing? Do you wish you weren't playing? And I think it created a lot of stress for him, and he had to learn to come up with his own coping mechanisms to not let me cause that stress to him. And I think as parents, sometimes we go into those situations so worked up for our kids, and they're often not as nervous, but we create that anxiety for them.
It didn't take me too long to discover headphones. I had to do the best I could before games or tryouts or anything kind of nerve-wracking to block my mom out, because she made it so much worse. She would fill my head with things like, are you nervous? Do you wish the other goalie was playing? You know, this team you're playing is really good. Things like that I already knew, and I already knew in my own head going into the game that I didn't need from my parents.
Absolutely. Stress from just everyday life or pressures from outside the rink. You know, you can't help. We're human again. We bring them into the rink. I know my wife and I try to not bring them in and just let him sit in the back of the car with his headphones on and go through his own preparation, his own way, and just leave him be as much as possible.
When you're coaching the team, you have the coaching stress, which is, you know, sometimes if you can do it properly, independent of the parental stress. But certainly, I think your own kids feel it a little bit more because, you know, you're challenged as a coach to do all the things that you need to do. And if your team loses or you're not successful, you look over at your own son and they see you a little bit, you know, stressed or upset about a game, and I think they take it maybe that little bit harder than your average player would on the team.
I've had to coach a player on getting his father to stay clear and give him some distance and growth because it just wasn't going to happen for him. He was in tears a lot of the time.
Now that my kids have finished minor hockey, I look back and I think sometimes parents get a little excited about things that really don't mean anything. But when you're in the thick of it, you're like, oh.
I think I probably feel everything as a parent. You feel their frustration when they've had a bad shift, or, you know, they're not getting as much ice time as they want, to you're just almost in tears when you see them, you know, succeed and reach the goals that they wanted, whether it's individually from a game or even a team standpoint.
I think it just is so important for parents to be educated in a way, or at least informed in a way, that they become sports-wise parents, and they understand what it is to support their child in their child's adventure, and not so much feel that they are so much a part of that adventure that part of their life is what's happening on the ice.
Your kid's already worked up enough, and they have coaches and themselves to be competitive about the game. It's not your job to get them excited for that game. It's your job to make sure you stick to the basics and have a little bit of faith in the coach and the player themselves. When you bring them to the rink, you should be positive. You should make sure they're excited about the game. Don't need to fill their heads with things that are negative. Get them fed, make sure they have a good night's sleep, get them to the rink on time, because the coaches are the ones that should be preparing them for the game, and the kids should be doing it themselves as well, because if they're competitive enough, if they want to be there enough, they want to win anyway.
For more information on the Lessons from Behind the Glass video series, visit bchockey.net or lessonsfrombehindtheglass.com.